Hi, my name's Ken Fisher and this is LiveLink Training. Welcome. Today we're going to be looking at smart objects, and there are some of the advantages that they offer which are quite significant when using them with filters in Photoshop. Well, let's get on. In this video I want to highlight the difference between using a filter and using a smart filter. Now let's look at a typical filter workflow. Now here we've got an image open and I want to blur it in a creative way. Well, let's have a look at how I would do that. Let's go up to the filter menu and we'll select blur gallery, and I'll try an iris blur. Now this one has a heads up display in the middle, so I can change the actual blur from here, or I can change it from the blur tools up here with this slider, so I can make it more blurry or less blurry. Now I'm going to drag it down and put it over this stone because I'd like the stone to be in focus. Now I can change the focus by using the heads up display and make it quite blurry around the outside. There is a transition area here and this is controlled by these little white dots, so I can move them in or out to get a harsh transition or a soft transition. I'll go for quite a soft transition but keep the centre of this rock in focus. Anyhow, I get the blur how I like it and I click OK up here on the options bar. Now it's OK, but what happens if I change my mind and I want to change the blur just a little bit, or try another blur altogether? Well, to a certain I've burned all my bridges as I've now changed the physical pixels in the image. So if I save this image out now and then close Photoshop and then open it again tomorrow, I've got a completely different image with different pixel numbers. So I can't get back to where I was. Whenever I'm in Photoshop I can use the undo, so I'll use Command or Control and Z to undo, and it gets me back to my original image. Now there must be an easier and more flexible way. And of course there is. Enter smart objects to a fanfare. Now with smart objects we can work in a totally non-destructive way, which will make it completely re-editable. Okay, first step then, I've got to convert this to a smart object. So I can do that by right clicking on the background layer and selecting convert to smart object, or I can go up to the filter menu and I can select convert for smart filters. Both will get me to the same point. Here it tells me I'm going to be creating a smart object and I click OK. And you can see now that I've got a little icon in the corner here which is me telling me that this is now a smart object. Now let's go and apply the same blur. So I can go up to the filter menu, down to the blur gallery and down to iris blur. And here let's repeat the same thing. I'll drag it down over here, over the rock. I'll just make it a little bit wider there. And if I hover over the outside circle here, or the ellipse, I can drag it smaller. So I can just really concentrate the area of focus that I want. And I want this area to be quite in focus. Now again, if I click OK, something different happens. If we look in the layers panel, we can see that we've now got a smart filter layer which has got its own mask. And there's a visibility eye, so I can turn it on and off. And the blur gallery down here, if I double click that, it'll take me straight back into the blur gallery. Now normally over here on the right hand side you might see another symbol. If you do and you double click it, that'll take you into and what that will do is it'll let you change the opacity and the blend modes. But in this case of the blur gallery on the blur, we haven't got that option. Now the smart filter mask here, that can also be used to change where we want. So if we paint with that with black and white on that filter mask, it will take away or add to the blur in whichever area we paint. And we might want to paint with black, with white or with grey on this mask. Now if I ever want to change the type of filter or the intensity, I can easily do that by double clicking on the filter name now, the blur gallery. And that'll take me straight back to the blur filter. Here we are. and I can make any changes that I like. I can change something, whatever, and then I can think, well, I don't really like this, it's not working for me. So what I'm going to do is try another blur. So I'm going to switch off the iris blur, just close that down, and I'll try a bit of field blur. Now field blur is where we can add multiple points. So I'll just drag this over the stone just to show you. And then what I can do is, it's made everything quite blurry. I can back this off with the heads up display again, or I can do it with this slider up here. But I'm backing it right off down to 0 because I don't want this stone to be blurry. And then I can add some multiple points. So I'll add another point, let's say over here, and that makes that area blurry. I'll make another point over here, and now I've got quite a blurred background. I'm looking at now a differential depth of field, or probably a little bit of a depth mask. Now this area might be a little bit too blurry. So if I click to put a point in, I can take out the blur just in that area. So now we've got a little bit of a depth of field going off. I'll take it off even more there, so we've got that stone in focus. But then I might want this area to be a little bit more blurry, so I'll put another point there, something like that. And I think, well, maybe another one there, because we took a little bit of blur out of that. Just move it up a little bit. You can see where I'm going. You can actually build a blur, and then when I click OK, it accepts that, and I've now got it down here again in the blur gallery, totally non-destructive. So I can change my mind at any time, and this is all saved with the file when you save it as a PSD or a TIFF file. So you can see I can make changes to the smart filter and it's completely re-editable at any time in the future. So it's a really cool way to be able to make changes when you're working with smart filters. Alright, well now we've seen a little bit of how smart filters work. Let's look at that in the context of a little bit of a workflow. And we're going to do that in the very next video. I'll see you then. Bye for now. Well, I do hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment under the video. And don't forget to click that subscribe button to help me grow my Photoshop learning community. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.